Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the fore, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
And welcome to this Friday edition of Kentucky's Voice. Glad to have you with us today. Coming up on today's show, Louisville Metro Council member Tony Piagentini will be joining us to talk about a new plan being proposed by council Republicans here to hold judges accountable and make Louisville safer. And the Kentucky Supreme Court heard arguments in a case yesterday that will determine whether public charter schools are constitutional in Kentucky. We'll break that down for you in the second hour today. But first, the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk has been identified and captured. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, accused of allegedly assassinating the conservative commentator, 31-year-old conservative influencer and confidant of Donald Trump, who was shot during a rally at Utah University. There was a 2-day manhunt for this guy. And I got to tell you, I am impressed with the work that our FBI, which is under new leadership now with the new administration in place, I'm impressed by the work they've done and how quick they've moved on this 2-day manhunt. This guy fired a single lethal shot before jumping off a roof overlooking the event and escaping. As you've probably seen those videos, the president said the suspect's father helped to turn his son in after the FBI released pictures of a person of interest. And the grainy picture showed a white man wearing sunglasses, a baseball hat, and a black sweatshirt that appeared to feature an American flag and an eagle. I think we have him, the U.S. President Donald Trump said on Fox and Friends this morning. And I'm joined now by co-host Bob Scott and Tom Fallbush, and also Vladimir Aguilar's in the studio with us. Guys, let's bring everybody in if we can. First of all, Tom, I think we need to acknowledge how quick the FBI's worked on this, how important their work is.
Exactly right. Yeah, they did a great job of isolating that video and getting it out to the public. Just breaking down the crime scene, and of course, and I give a lot of credit to the father. That's a tough thing to turn in your kid. So that's a lot of people are going after the parents, but you can't control what your adult kids do sometimes. So you have to give them a lot of some sympathy there or empathy there. But he turned his son in, and that's hats off to the family.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk a lot about different aspects and of this, but I did think that the comments made by the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, I've been impressed with his comments. He described the killing of Charlie Kirk as, quote, an attack on the American experiment. He said this is certainly about the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk, adding it's also much bigger than an attack on an individual. It's an attack on all of us. It's an attack on the American experiment. It's an attack on our ideals. This cuts to the very foundation of who we are, of who we have been, and who we could be in better times. I thought that was a great comment. And Vladimir, I think that's really important that we more than ever speak out and exercise our freedoms. This is not the time to hold back and cower back.
Yes, basically this is why I left Cuba, because you can't speak out your mind in public because you are risking your life on it. Yeah. So the attack on Charlie is an attack on the First Amendment of this country. Yeah. So.
the FBI director Kash Patel visited the scene to see, what kind of resources would be needed, and it wasn't long after that they got these videos out and they got this suspect captured. Bob Scott, are you with us? What are your thoughts about this?
I am. Yeah, just relieved. As I think most folks in America are right now, and certainly in Utah. It's a very scary situation, and I know we're coming up on another break here, and I'll share more on the other side. But it's a very good thing what happened.
Well, stay with us here. We're going to talk more about the capture of Tyler Robinson, apparently at least an alleged assassin here of conservative commentator, activist Charlie Kirk. Stay with us. We'll talk more about that coming up on Kentucky's Voice. Don't go away. Yeah. I was looking for that. I'm getting a lot of reverb.
I do want to, Jim, continue on by saying it's interesting. He wrote on one of the bullets, "Hey, fascist, catch."
I've got that was what I was going to. I didn't want to get into that until we had time. Let's talk about that.
Do you have pictures of him, Jim?
Yes, I finally do. Here, let me.
Okay.
Yeah, let's definitely get pictures of him up there.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a picture out of it. Let me. This will.
Yeah, X has got a foul. You type in Tyler Robinson and X and just hit the links column.
How do I share this? How do I?
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall Fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
And we're back here on Kentucky's Voice. Thanks for joining us today. We're here every weekday, 11 to noon. But this week, we've been here a couple of hours each day. And we want you to help us. We need your support. And, during these times when it's important that we have a voice for freedom, a voice for conservative, common sense ideals and values and Christian values and faith-based values, you can join. You can partner with us. And Vladimir, if it was ever a time that folks should step up, it's during these times when we see really the freedom of speech under attack.
Yes. Basically, like I said a couple days ago in my show, this won't stop me to speak out.
I think it's going to
make it louder.
Yeah, I think we should. And one way you can make it louder is to text GIVE today, GIVE, to 502-571-0970. Or if you're at your laptop, you can go to kyvoice.org and give. Do it right now. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. Don't be apathetic. This is the time for us to get stronger, not weaker, obviously. And Dan, I've got a picture of this suspect that has been captured in the hunt for Charlie Kirk's assassin. How do I pull? There we go. I got it up right there. It is. You can see him right there. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson has been arrested. Apparently, his own father turned him in. How tough is that? But apparently, the pictures that were displayed, the video that was displayed, helped to bring this guy in. And so now we're going to find out more. And going back to our panel here today, we've got Bob Scott with us. Tom Fallbush via Zoom. We've got Vladimir Aguilar in the studio. And guys, there's a lot here to unpack about what's happened here. One of the things that has come out about this shooting is that there were slogans that were actually inscribed on two of the unused bullet casings that were found after the shooting of Kirk on Friday. One cartridge, or authorities said today, I guess the shooting, of course, was on Wednesday, but one cartridge had written on it, "Hey, fascist, catch." Another featured Bella Ciao, apparently a reference to a World War II era Italian anti-fascist song. I mean, this is just really weird, strange stuff. What do you guys think about this?
There we go. See, I think people are trying to unpack this and try to figure out what the motive is. obviously he didn't like Charlie Kirk. He wouldn't have killed him. So that's a one clue. These inscriptions on the bullets are another clue. There were some earlier reports on X this morning that maybe he was part of the Democratic Socialists, but that's been debunked now. But I do think he was radicalized into the Antifa world. If any of these inscriptions, correlate to that, it sounds like he's motivated by this anti-fascist sort of radical left-wing socialist, movement, and it's dark and twisted. And listen, guys, we have an epidemic of this now. We've got an epidemic of left-wing terrorism in this country, violence and terrorism, and we can't whitewash it and try to have this normalcy bias anymore. Yeah. I think if this, how many killings, murders, assassinations that have to occur now to where we realize, hold on, we got a real problem with the rabid left, and if the reaction of the left, of those on the left, doesn't tell you that we have a problem, then you're blind. It's just, you go on X, you go on social media, people laughing, celebrating. We're going to get into this later, but the posters of U of L, we've got a problem, and so there needs to be consequences.
Let's hear what. Yeah, that's right. There does. Let's hear what Spencer Cox. Dan, I want to play this clip off my laptop here. Let's hear what he had to say about this.
Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" ! Catch! Up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols.
So that was the governor of Utah talking about what had been found here, and I'm going to turn this off so we don't. Guys, this is just crazy stuff.
On the 3
there we go. Very radical, and then he was also talking in another clip about another part of that conversation about how this Tyler Robinson actually at some family dinner had started talking about how much he disliked and hated Charlie Kirk and how he was going to be coming to the University of Utah. And, we don't think about something like this happening in America. This has not been the way we've settled our political differences in the past. This hasn't been the way we've addressed these issues, but this is a new reality for us, I think. Don't you?
It's because of the rhetoric that's been ramped up over the past decade or so. This Marxist narrative of there's an oppressor class and a victim class, and the oppressors represented by people like us, conservatives, traditional Americans. We are tantamount to fascists, to Nazis, and that mindset has sunk in, and those that are unhinged and really evil and malicious minded on the left now feel like they have a license to do this, because what do you do to a Nazi? You kill him. What do you do if there's evil in the world? Well, you're the hero. You're going to save the day and stop evil. This guy probably thought he was doing good. And of course he did. He's an anti-fascist. He thinks fascism is evil, and he thinks Charlie was a fascist. And so we have a real problem of the rhetoric that's come from the left to build this narrative, to create this. So the left has to fix it.
Right. Bob, what strikes me here too is that the Charlie Kirk, of all people, was dedicated to debate, to civil disagreement, to addressing the issues that our country has in a thoughtful way, and listening to other people. What this tells me is that there's a lot of folks on the left who aren't interested in solving or reaching a consensus. You have to accept. It used to be, Bob, as long as you tolerated their view, that was okay, But now you have to accept it, or you're evil, you're a fascist. And that, of all people, Charlie Kirk did not represent that. I mean, at all. He was all about having these civil debates and having discussion, and which has been the history of our country. Is that right?
Yeah, Jim. If we're going to point a finger of blame, and there's multiple ways it can be pointed, I would start first with our media, which uplifted Trump as being some kind of Nazi fascist type finger. And it's interesting. They are pointing and calling out exactly who they are. You know,
they're projecting. That's right.
And it's projection.
That's right.
This
I
is
agree.
projection 101.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And
Good point.
it's disgusting.
Yeah.
That it's happening, but it is happening, and it needs to stop because we are on the verge. And I know a lot of people on the right that aren't real happy about this. I mean, to a point of wanting to do something.
And that brings us to a point I want to make, and we're glad to be joined by Diane Starr now, another co-host. That we've got a panel discussion here going on with a great panel today. We need to do this more often, guys. But let's. But I want to bring you in just for a moment to talk about this. That and President Trump has even made a point of saying this. You know, that conservatives should respond to this in a peaceful way, and they usually do. But as Bob was pointing out, there's a lot of frustration on the right. But violence, and get close to the mic there. Violence is not going to solve. This is not. We don't need more violent rhetoric. That's not going to solve anything here. What we do need are people who are courageous. You know, Charlie Kirk made the comment not long before he was shot about how being courageous is doing the right thing, no matter what the consequences may be.
This is what Charlie taught love. I heard him say to a gay conservative, he said, don't call yourself gay conservative. He said, don't identify yourself as gay. Identify yourself as conservative, because what you do in your bedroom is between you and God. But what you do to the world and the country, how you present yourself with values and morals. So I think you're right, but I do fearful for the violence that it seems to be erupting because of the other side. And we could talk more on that in a few minutes, but it's scary.
Yeah.
And despite of all of that, you haven't seen any city burn or nothing like that, because we are not like them.
Yeah.
100%.
Here's the thing too, is that the left can't win in the debates.
Of course not.
The radical left cannot win. So they're resorting to the media, to violence, to even the universities in some respects, as we're going to talk about here. We're seeing some real radical outlying of this on the University of Louisville. We'll talk about that coming up on Kentucky's Voice. Stay with us as we continue coverage of the Charlie Kirk assassin and the aftermath. Don't go away.
Are you ready to stand for truth?
Let's see if I can.
Hey, Dan.
Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to
That's
speak
what I
truth
realized.
in the public
You
square.
need to bobble
Volunteer,
the camera.
intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Yeah. Can we talk? Yeah, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a thought about the last comment.
Okay. Hold on, I can't hear. I've got a big reverb, and that's what I was going to ask Dan.
Yeah, Dan needs to.
It was left open, and it's very distractive. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't do only 5 things at a time here. Okay.
Yeah, that's one camera
Sorry.
right there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, when they leave their mic open back there, it reverbs, I think, and that's.
I feel you have to do the bubble.
We got a lot more time to work on this, guys, so we'll have time to pass it around. I thought from the clock, I thought we had 2 minutes left, but we only had 1.
Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall Fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
And thanks for staying with us here on Kentucky's Voice. You're hearing this live on the radio on 970 WGTK, and you can watch it on channel 21 WBNA 1230 today, 4 o'clock as well. And we hope you'll make this part of your day every day, and we hope you'll partner with us. You know, if there was ever a time to step up and say, I believe in protecting our constitutional rights to freedom of speech, you know, folks, when you think about what makes America different than every other country, we have the freedom of speech. It's ensconced in our Constitution. It is a protection that we have that's one of our most important protections.
Amen.
And if we're going to continue to have that, we're going to need to step up. The apathy and the procrastination has to end right here. We have to step up and do our part. You know, sometimes conservatives are good at reacting, but not so much on being proactive. But this is an opportunity to step up and be proactive and partner with us in this effort to build Kentucky's Voice, a statewide conservative, common sense, Christian-based media outlet, and you can do it. It's very easy. All you have to do is text GIVE, G-I-V-E, a great 4-letter word, to 502-571-0970, or go to kyvoice.org. We have got him, ladies and gentlemen, said Spencer Koch, the Republican governor of Utah. He has confirmed that 22-year-old Tyler Robinson has been arrested in connection with the death of conservative activist and commentator Charlie Kirk. One of Mr. Robinson's family members told police he had become more political in recent months. In a previous family dinner, Mr. Robinson spoke about how much he did not like Kirk and how he was, quote, spreading hate, end quote, according to Cox. Several posts from Mr. Robinson on Discord included details on the location of the rifle, as well as technical details about the weapon, such as its scope. So it's all coming out now. We're joined today in the studio by Vladimir Aguilar and Diana Starr, our co-host. We had planned to be here anyhow today. We didn't know, of course, what the circumstances would be, but we're joined online as well by Tom Fallbush and Bob Scott, co-host of this program, and you can see them frequently hosting throughout the week on here. And guys, we're going to get in a second. We want to talk about a poster that was put up here in Louisville. But before we get to that, how important is it that our young people, and this is what Charlie Kirk was committed to, and I think this is what's so devastating about this, is he was so great with young people. President Trump mentioned this about persuading them and listening to them and challenging their ideology and challenging their thoughts. And now his voice has been silenced. This is terrible. This is a terrible blow.
Well, if you go online, Jim, you'll see a myriad of posts now happening from young people. You know, I saw a post that moved me to tears. Young black kid was talking about how Charlie Kirk and his ministry, and that's the way a lot of them viewed this as a ministry, because first and foremost, and this is where it gets frustrating, people don't understand, Charlie always talked about Jesus first. You know,
all the time.
It was always,
and it was one of the last things he talked about, Bob Scott. He talked about how when we leave this life, we're going to meet him. It was very, very inspiring.
Well, it was a beautiful thing, and you know, I got into a discussion with somebody online. I'm not going to go where it was at, but you know, it was someone clearly coming from the left and they weren't defending what happened at all. They said it should never happen, and it shouldn't happen. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, leftist, or someone on the right. This should never happen in America. And Vlad can talk really well to that, coming from Cuba. Right. He knows what it's all about. But it did happen, and this is the type of thing that we as a people need to start standing up against and really speaking out and you know, standing in unity together and calling this stuff out and not being afraid to say the difficult things.
Yeah, you know, Charlie Kirk spent a lot of time on college campuses. In fact, that's where this attack happened this week. was on a college campus, and my understanding was there was about 3,000 people that turned out for this.
Yes.
I mean, come on, guys, you get 3,000 college students to turn out for anything, you know.
And 95% of them, Jim, were there to see Charlie Kirk and support him.
Yeah.
You know.
And
on top of that, not just the 95%, but the beautiful thing about Charlie is he would always invite those who were against him every single time to get first in line and join the discussion. That's the key point. He was the ultimate Martin Luther King type figure. He believed very strongly in good, peaceable conversation to try to bridge gaps and change attitudes. And with this 22-year-old kid / man has done is taken a tremendous gift from the people of this country.
Yeah, and speaking of college campuses, let's go to my laptop here, Dan, if we can. And I want to show there. Here's a picture, guys. This is one version of a poster that was put up by some coward at the University of Louisville. And I say coward. I don't say that lightly, because if you really believe that you're right, you'll stay around and debate. That's what Charlie Kirk did.
Exactly.
And that's what he encouraged. But let's take a look at this again. And this is at the University of Louisville, folks. Your tax dollars help support this university.
Disgusting.
And Tom Fallbush, I know we've been trying to get a statement from the university about this from the governor's office. And look, I believe that people have the right to express their views, whether I agree with them or not. Okay, now let's begin there. But here's the thing is, our tax dollars are supporting this university. And just because a person has the right to do something or say something doesn't mean they don't have to suffer the consequences of that, right? And that works both ways. And I think on this, there has to be consequences for this, and there has to be a statement from this university in this city where we are right now in this town that gets tax dollars from you, me, the taxpayer, we the people. They're up there, and they have no problem showing up in Frankfurt and being early for a meeting in which their hands are out asking for more money from the taxpayers. But where are they when this kind of stuff gets posted? That's my view.
And this is basically violence promotion.
Yes.
100%, because you are encouraging other people to do these things. So
this is terrorism. This is support. These are terrorist leaflets, is what they are. And so, and listen, Jim, I called the university, called the police, the campus police. They said, "Well, talk to the communications department." Call the communications department. I'll talk to this person. Left 2 or 3 messages. No, they're hunkered down in a bunker mentality. They're not going to respond right now.
Now, here's the other version of this.
Better do this in the right way, because taxpayer dollars are going into this. This is our university. I'm an alumni. This is and I even called the governor's office. Got disconnected 2 or 3 times conveniently as I asked.
Hey, Tom, let's talk about this other version of this photo here, which I've put up. Dan, let's put that. Exactly. So tell me here what you're seeing.
I saw this on X earlier today, and this is genius, because before they put this poster up, there were already these posters up there. Now, these other posters have a picture of an image of Hitler, right? And they're talking about how basically immigration enforcement creates concentration camps. So that narrative, right? That sort of the Trump's a Nazi, Trump is Hitler, and of course with Charlie Kirk being one of his greatest defenders publicly. There we go. In other words, this led to that. So that this ideology that's permeated on campus of all this anti-fascism stuff and all this led to Charlie's killing. So it's very ironic that that poster ends up on the same board with basically the nexus of the genesis of this whole effort started right there with that ideology, right? So it's just shocking. So we're and Charlie Kirk knew that. That's why he's on campus.
That's right.
To the belly of the beast and trying to reach out to kids right there on this, because it all starts there. The colleges in this country is where all this stuff comes from. So.
That's right. Stay with us here on Kentucky's Voice, talking about the arrest and capture of 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, the accused assassin of conservative activist commentator, and all-around great guy, great Christian, Charlie Kirk. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.
Going to say these couple things.
Yeah,
about
no,
the
we got
church.
another segment.
Okay.
I just wanted to let you know ahead of time. So.
Yeah, it was.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
And welcome back here as we have a special 2-hour edition of Kentucky's Voice each day this week. And it's been great. I've enjoyed this a lot today. We've got our panel with us, a full panel, including in the studio, Vladimir Aguilar and Diana Starr. And Diana, you've been listening to this conversation about the capture of 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. And, you know, obviously, somewhere along the line, he's become radical in his thinking. Doesn't this talk about how important it is that we pass on freedom? You know, Ronald Reagan talked about passing on the ideals of freedom, the ideals of liberty to the next generation. It doesn't happen automatically, folks. That's why we need Kentucky's Voice here. We need more programming for younger people. We need to, and we're talking about how can we take what's happened here with Charlie Kirk and have more debate and get more young people engaged. But how important do you think that is? And I think this highlights certainly it's something we need to be thinking about.
I think that's the number one thing. He was going after our future like no other did. You can't assassinate an idea.
Yes.
You cannot assassinate an idea. And this morning,
good point.
I was talking to so many people all during the night, and as you guys mentioned before, he preached love. We need change, and that's what you're saying. And I want to say that I called upon a lady that is in our local area, and everybody all over the internet, and Vlad, you know this, and Jim, you know this, and probably Tom, out there, they're saying, we pick up the mantle. And I made a post on it. Elijah dropped a mantle, and God gave it to Elisha. That means that we must continue the work, or we will not have a future.
Point. I think that's a great point.
And I asked her to make the shirt.
Yeah.
Can you pan on this, Dan? Can I see it? It says, "We are Charlie Kirk."
Yeah.
I had that made because everybody all over the internet is saying,
You've got another one. Hand that to me. Give that to me.
I told
We'll
you
hold
that I
up
brought
right
two.
I like this, you know. Look at this.
And it's safety yellow.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we
So
go,
the
folks.
responsibility of what continues is the people.
There it is.
We are Charlie Kirk. We are his ideology.
There we go.
The guy made a mistake, a big mistake, when he assassinated the idea behind our futures.
Yeah, and Vladimir, I think that's a good point too about. I think Charlie Kirk would want, and he was here. You had pictures with him.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience there, and of course, would he not want us to continue on and to actually take this and reach our next generation, which I think we're going to do.
Yes,
I think this is going to help us do that.
And actually, I want to add something to it. Like Charlie, he was a fighter because he took that fight to the college.
But it wasn't a violent fight. It was a fight over ideas.
Yeah,
it was a fight over ideals,
a truth fighter.
Principles. Yeah.
And let's be clear about this. The fight today for the ideology and everything and the spiritual is on the campuses.
Yes.
And he went down there because
he went right where it was.
Make
right
no mistake, whatever we're seeing these days with the left has been, planned like years ago in the universities. Yes. And that's why I my show, I try to expose, because even on the Cuban side, we got Cuban agents working on those campuses. I can name 20 of them easily. Harvard, Pittsburgh, Denver, Colorado,
Is anything being done about that?
Of course. And this is the same people, when you see People's Forum with Manolo de los Santos, out there in New York, doing Hamas supporting and all of that. Manolo de los Santos, he goes to Havana. And why we are not taking actions with the law against that people? Because,
Well, Tom Fallbush and Bob Scott are with us on the line. And guys, this is a sad moment, and in so many ways, this is a dark moment for our country.
Yes,
but it's also an opportunity that we have.
Yes,
to make sure that this time we're going through was not in vain, if you will.
Yes,
but we'll use some biblical language here, right?
Charlie did so well as he inspired all of us to have courage. He would say that to young people constantly, that's the most important virtue is courage. And I mean, just the impact of this event, he was doing his highest calling, what he was called to do at the moment of his death.
Amen.
And that was just, it still hasn't sunk in. It's such a powerful moment and a tragic moment, but at the same time, look at this man's life and what he represented. If you can't get behind just who he was about now, then you're just something's wrong.
Tom,
one of the to Diane real quick, her shirt, I love her shirt. And Vlad, I'd like to get you and Diane and myself. Let's go wear those shirts. Let's put on our MAGA hats.
Yes.
Let's go set up a table at the University of Louisville. And let's show we're not afraid.
Yeah.
And right in the bulletin board where they put up that, debate this. Well, let's have a debate.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we are. We are going to pick up the mantle of Charlie Kirk.
Amen.
And Tom, one of the things that Charlie said was courage. What courage is. Courage is doing the right thing when you don't know how it's going to turn out. When you don't know. When you're willing to do the right thing, go out and do the right thing, no matter what the consequences.
Yes. Exactly right. Yeah.
Well, I think
that needs to be let me just say this. That needs to be the emphasis of the conservative movement right now too. There's a lot of people talking about what should we do next. I've got this righteous anger. We want justice. What is the next step? And here's the thing: we need to have serious consequences to this occurrence. Not just to the young man that did this. Obviously, he's going to get the death penalty or whatever. But the broader left needs to come to heel. And if it needs to be seen that they've come to heel. Because if not, here's the problem. There are those that are unhinged that are on our side too. We keep them in check a lot better than the left does. But the unhinged on our side, if it's not seen that there's some sort of consequence of this leftist movement that's pushed this whole assassination, then it's going to trigger violence. And so we need to really have a reckoning, a come to Jesus moment in this country with the left.
Yeah.
With the left. And if not, I'm afraid for this country because it's just going to cycle into violence and violence. We're basically at a civil conflict level now. If you look at this from academic levels, they study Civil War. There's stages of this. We're like in the first or second stage of a 5-stage Civil War scenario.
Absolutely.
That's not what I came to this country.
And this isn't just a disagreement. This has gone to another level.
Yeah.
So this is about more than just that, Vladimir.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I want to be clear of that, because I said the same thing like Tom just said. If we as a society, we cannot pressure enough to stop these things, or at least things like this have like a big consequences. Yeah. Where are we going to end? Like they're going to kill us like one by one. So at the end of the day, there's no one to speak for us. Like what's going on?
Yeah, there has to be consequences.
Well, there has to be consequences, because in the end of the day, we're showing the youth our example. So Charlie showed by example, right? He was unafraid to answer any question biblically, politically, scientifically, physically, anything. So if we don't, like Tom said, pick up that mantle and say, why are the left not concerned about the future? Why are they not thinking about their children? Because only 3 things are going to happen, guys. They're going to either be totally indoctrinated and as sheep, what you're talking about, Vladimir, you've seen it in Cuba, or there's going to be somebody that continues to awaken them as it is, or there's going to be violence, and that's not going to be good either way. There's going to come to a half and half. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we need this show on. This project is so important. Kentucky's Voice in Kentucky. I mean, you saw the pictures of what happened at U of L, what was posted there. There's a lot of work to be done here.
Yes.
In advancing civil debate, conservative ideas, showing our young people that these are not fascist ideas. These are the principles that America was based on: individual freedom, freedom of speech, freedom to gather and assemble and worship, and on, the right to bear arms. All of those. That's what our nation was built upon. That's the American experiment that the governor in Utah talked about, and that's why this project is needed. We need you to partner with us. Now, if you want to do something that makes a difference, you're saying, what can I do in light of this that really is going to have an impact, really is going to make a difference? You can do it by texting GIVE to 502-571-0970. Partner with us. Do a monthly, do a $29 a month gift, do a $100 a month gift, whatever you can do to help us. Go to kyvoice.org. We want to expand this program. We want to expand this operation. We want to do more live coverage. We want to do something in honor of Charlie Kirk, setting up a way to engage our young people, keep them engaged, and do even more in our community, and make the case in a civil way, and really do it the way our founders intended. That's what they intended, Vladimir. They knew we wouldn't all agree. They knew but they debated. There was lots of disagreement and debate, but at the end of the day, they didn't settle their differences with violence. They settled it,
and that's
with
why
ideas.
we got the First Amendment in this country.
That's right.
That's right. And I read an article that made you cry. I read really quickly. I'm going to tell you that the father was putting the story in that he got up this morning. His child had a suit and tie on. No kids, no teenagers in high school do that. He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm honoring Charlie Kirk." Yeah. He went to the high school, and every student had a tie and suit on and were dressed appropriately to honor Charlie Kirk. That's the movement that he's ignited, even in his death.
Well, guys, great conversation. We've got about 30 seconds left. Tom Fallbush, any closing thoughts here?
Yeah, wow, that's and that's exactly right. There's a lot of hope right now for the right. Okay, so if you are upset about this, we need to be upset. We need to demand consequences. However, the reason the left acted out like this is because they're losing, and Charlie Kirk is a big reason why. He basically turned the whole Gen Z generation over to the right. It's the most conservative generation we've ever seen in this country. Good thing, but we need to have some consequences on the left. They need to heal.
Thank you, Tom Fallbush and panel. Stay with us for more of Kentucky's Voice coming up. Don't go away. We'll be back.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You
that issue unless there's okay, because I've got okay. Let me have. Can I have? Is that the back? Can I have that to use? Thanks.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall Fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
You don't have to read
Will,
verbatim.
yeah,
So, you know, just
Will.
fly with it. We'll be good.
All right, we're back here on Kentucky's Voice. Thanks for staying with us today here. You can join us each weekday here at 11 o'clock here on 970. You're hearing this live on 970 WGTK Radio, and you can watch us on television at 12:30 and 4 o'clock. Just make it part of your day. We appreciate you joining us today. You can join the conversation. If you have some thoughts on what we've been talking about today, we'd love to hear from you on our Kentucky's Voice text line at 502-571-0970. And you can also use that number to partner with us, and we hope you'll do that as we're in the middle of our part of our share-a-thon here. But we're glad to have you with us and stay with us today. Well, with the holiday season right around the corner, now's the perfect time to shed a few pounds for those family photos, reunions, holiday gatherings. You want to look and feel your best. And I'm here with two weight loss experts who say you can lose 20 to 40 pounds by Halloween. That's pretty good. That's just right around. That's going to be here before you know it. Please welcome the co-founders of VitaLife, a remarkable system, Dr. Bill Perks and Davis Jaspers. Welcome to the show today, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, Dr. Perks, you're a doctor, so it makes sense you'd be involved in weight loss. But Davis, your background is different. You were actually studying to be a pastor. That's a little bit different. You've got quite a background here. I know you did radio before you mentioned, so you've got quite a background.
Yeah, so I was planning on being a pastor because I have such a passion to just transform lives. And as I was in seminary, I continued to eat like I did when I was in college. And it seemed like before I knew it, I'd gained a bunch of weight. I weighed myself as 195 pounds. And I was like, and I'm 5'4", so that's short. And so at 195 pounds, it's like I did not want to see that 200-pound mark. I was like, I am going to do something. So I started counting calories, like most people do, and I lost over the course of a year, eating 800 to 1,200 calories a day. I lost 20 pounds, and then went on a cruise. Okay, now it was a 5-day cruise, and on my 5-day cruise, I ended up gaining 7 pounds back, and really felt like giving up. And then I worked with a naturopath doctor who said, Davis, your approach is completely wrong. You need to focus on metabolic function, and then the side effect of a properly working metabolism is weight loss. And so it took about 6 months. We did all these tests. It cost about $15,000, very expensive, but worth it because he created for me the perfect recipe for my own weight loss. And so I started eating these foods, taking these supplements, and I dropped 30 pounds in 40 days. And it transformed my life. And I then was like, okay, this is the transformation I want others to experience. And around the same time, there was a gentleman that was doing 50 Ironman triathlons in 50 states in 50 days. And his name is James Lawrence. His nickname is the Iron Cowboy. And so I was following it at this time. And I noticed he was doing this bioscan to see what his body needed. So I reached out to the bioscanning company. I was like, hey, is there some sort of way that we can take this technology for sports performance and turn this into something for metabolic function? And they said, yeah. And I was really excited. And they said, you just have to program it. And I was like, oh. So that's when I was involved in the natural wellness community, and Dr. Perks and I were friends. I was like, called him up. I was like, hey, Dr. Perks, can you help me with programming something for metabolic function? And so, yeah.
I'm going to tell you, when he reached out to me and was bouncing some of this off me, I was very skeptical at first, but
he's always so skeptical. You just got to go with it. Come on.
Yeah. So I'm the nerdy research guy. So I had to dive into the research, and everything checked out, and it looked very intriguing. So together we created those first bioscans to really evaluate the metabolism.
Yep.
So
now with that, what took me 6 months with what really Dr. Perks developed a lot with is we can do it in 17 minutes now. So it took 6 months of testing, 17 minutes. Yeah.
So when you finish that, how'd you know it was going to work?
Well, I'm not going to recommend anything that I don't try myself. So I dove into it. I was the guinea pig, and I lost 32 pounds in a 40-day stretch. At the time, I was in my mid-40s. I was overweight. I couldn't keep up with my kids. I was concerned because my dad had a heart attack in his 50s. My physique, my dad's physique, exactly the same at the time. So I was concerned about where things were heading. So when I did the program, my energy shot up, my blood pressure went down. I roped my wife, my mom, my stepdad into it. We all lost weight, felt great. I knew we were on to something. So we rolled this out here in Louisville. We have a New Albany and a Louisville location.
And isn't it like 60,000 pounds of weight loss?
Yeah, I was going to say, fast forward the last 10 years, we've been working with people locally in this system. And so many people don't know this is even available, but we've helped people in Louisville lose over 60,000 pounds of body fat.
Yeah.
Our goal is 100,000 by the end of 2028.
Well, you're well on your way to that. And you bring up a good point. You hear so many of these commercials and about weight loss products, and over half the commercials about the side effects.
Right.
Ozempic and GLP-1 drugs, bariatric surgery.
Yeah.
And they have to, by law, talk about some of the side effects. I guess we might not hear about those if it wasn't required. But and then you always hear about how it's going to be easy, So talk about that a second.
Okay.
Doctor, it's how easy is it?
Well, it is easy. And I'm going to tell you, I'm the nerd that gets into the science and the physiology and the nutrition. Davis is a systems guy and a creative guy together. Now he packages it together so it's easy for somebody to follow.
Easy, very easy.
Very easy.
Yep.
And our results are so duplicatable that we even offer a guarantee.
Yeah.
So this is healthcare. Nothing's
guaranteed. But yeah, a 20 pound minimum guarantee. It's a money back guarantee on your first 40 days. So people are like, well, what's the worst thing that could happen if I do this? The worst results are 20 pounds in 40 days. It's incredible.
Yeah, so you win either way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's a powerful message.
Yeah,
for our listeners, and many people have tried, and it's the weight loss industry now is such a big industry, multi-billion-dollar industry, and yet People try so many different things a lot of times.
Yeah.
They don't work.
Well, and here's why they don't work. And this actually frustrates me. So you've got all of these drugs, and then you also have all of these like weight loss systems where they're giving everybody the same thing. You get the same drink, you do the same thing, and it's like healthcare in general needs to be more customized for the person, and especially weight loss. So if you have to continue taking something to keep your weight off, that company knows that, and they're making a bunch of money on you. So when we look at what are we selling, right? At the end of the day, we are selling education. So it's not just like this quick fix. It is a fast fix, but it is a permanent fix, because not only will you lose the weight, but we're addressing the root cause, not treating a symptom, and we're going to teach you the skill sets to keep your weight off the rest of your life. That's the massive difference between what we do and everybody else.
And that's a good point, Doctor, about people a lot of times work hard to lose that weight and then they gain it back.
Well, because so many systems are focused on the symptom, the weight gain. They're not addressing the true cause, and that's a stuck metabolism.
Yep.
So we can find out exactly what one person's issues are causing their metabolic problems and the next person, and they're totally different. Yep. So when we say every program is customized, it's absolutely customized to get that metabolism working. The side effect is they lose a bunch of weight.
Yeah. Well, and it's amazing. Like when we started down this rabbit hole, and you were like, I don't know, like 2,800 different factors relating to metabolism that we ended up putting into the scan. Insane. Like, props to you for some of the stuff that I can't do.
Yeah, we're talking vitamins, minerals, enzymes. We're talking toxins in the body. There's so many factors. There's alkalinity versus acidity. There's so many factors that we put together in a complete system that's individualized for each one of our patients here in Kentuckiana.
So do I understand right? You have a gift.
We do. I have a gift. I have a gift. So for our listeners here, why don't you take your phone out and you're going to dial, you can hit the number pound 250. So pound 250, and then just hit the talk button, okay? And you're going to hear a recording. It's going to ask you for a keyword, and the keyword is vitality. Okay, so pound 250, keyword vitality. Our initial assessments are normally $300, but for the Kentucky Voice listeners, for today, we will give you that assessment for only $47. All right, so that's $47, normally $300, pound 250, and use the code word vitality. And we actually have a very special event on the 20th coming up where we are doing our fall kickoff challenge, because 40 days from the 20th is Halloween. So if people start on the 20th, they can be 20 to 40 pounds lighter by Halloween. So So
if they do that, does that mean they can go out trick-or-treating as themselves? Or
yeah.
Right. I have an idea.
Yeah.
The $47.
Yeah.
How about if people sign up for this and they come in on the 20th to the big challenge, we give them the $47 back. So the assessment doesn't end up costing them anything.
So you want to do, basically, if I'm understanding this, you want to do free assessments on the 20th.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Free assessments on the 20th.
Well, gentlemen, thank you. This has been fascinating. If you're ready to transform your health, take advantage of this fall reset challenge with vitality, wellness, and weight loss. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
And this is Kentucky's Voice. Dan, we have 1:30. Okay. I'm learning this clock, guys. But give us that information one more time. Let people.
Yep.
Let
so
our listeners
pound.
call
You're going to dial pound 250. So if you got your cell phone, pound 250, then hit your talk button, and then the code word you're going to hear a prompt is vitality. It's going to ask you a couple questions, and we're going to send you a text message with a link where you can pay for that discounted assessment and then schedule. And then, like you said, if you schedule for the 20th, we'll give you your money back when you come.
Home.
Yeah.
Yep. So they're going to learn something about their body that they didn't know when they walked in, and it's not going to cost them anything.
It's not going to cost them anything. I like that.
And that's going to benefit folks for a lifetime.
Right. Well, and if they'll start on the 20th or like the next day, again, by Halloween, 20 to 40 pounds. And people don't think that that's realistic, but we guarantee that. Like if you start on the 20th, we have a money back guarantee that by Halloween, the minimum amount of weight you're going to lose is 20 pounds.
So pound 250.
Pound 250. Code word vitality. And then you'll opt in to receive a text message from us, and then we'll send you a text message, and then you can schedule.
Very good. That's what this show is. We have a vital a show of vitality. So this fit right in. Thank you guys for joining us today. A good discussion. Stay with us for our second hour of Kentucky's Voice coming up. We'll talk about the Supreme Court's hearing on charter schools yesterday and more. Don't go away. All right.
I saw what was happening. You had like more.
Yep.
We had like an extra minute.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
The clock was.
So he's like, "Oh, we got to fill a minute."
This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
Guys. All right, thanks for joining and staying with us here today on Kentucky's Voice. We're into our second hour today of this show. And we need your help to keep this going here. We need your partnership, and you can do that today by partnering with us by texting GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 502-571-0970. And come on in here, Vladimir Aguilar, and join us. I think we're going to have you sitting over here, but that's okay. We'll take care of that in a moment. But let's go with this segment right now. We'll take care of that. This is live. No, if you're listening to this on the radio, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Of course. But we're glad to have you with us today, and we need your help. We need you to partner with us. This is part of our share-a-thon, and you can text GIVE, again, G-I-V-E, to 502-571-0970, or go to kyvoice.org and give to us there. Kentucky Supreme Court yesterday heard arguments in the case involving legislation passed by the Kentucky General Assembly in 2022 that funds public charter schools. The court heard the case in Newland Hall at the Norton Center for the Arts on the campus of Center College, where a couple of famous vice presidential debates have been held in the past. It was one of 4 cases the court heard in Danville over a 2-year period. I was down there yesterday and got to sit in and hear this argument by the Supreme Court. And I want to talk about this for a moment. This case was initially brought by a group of educrats, otherwise known as local public school superintendents, who call themselves the Council for Better Education, even though this group hasn't indicated any solutions or offered any solutions for actually improving our education system. All they've done is sued to stop educational choice and freedom, which we know helps bring about a better educational system in other states. And yet they call themselves the Council for Better Education. They sued to stop the funding of charter schools in Kentucky, just like they've sued to stop every form of school choice in the past. And they certainly haven't offered any ideas for improving our education system beyond, I should say, more money, and more money. Instead, they have named themselves the Council. They should have named themselves the Council for Defending the Status Quo, for failing future generations. They argue against any change for the status quo. They oppose any options for parents. They think parents are incapable and incompetent. They think somehow or other that the educrats, the bureaucrats, the system knows better than parents about what's best for children. And once again, yesterday in this hearing, for one side, it was about the money and the control. For the other side, it was about families who need and want better options for their children. It's about freedom and about the chance for a better future for our kids and our students, which currently does not happen in the public education system. Vladimir Aguilar, this is a short segment. We've got about a minute.
Yeah.
But it's ironic this group calls themselves Council for Better Education.
Yes.
And yet they oppose the very ideas that would bring that about.
No one better than the parents knows what education their kid needs. And that's basically the fundamental basis of socialism and communism. Yeah. The state, they want to take over your kids' education because after that, they're going to push their radical agenda.
That's right.
And that's why we see people like that, that guy who just supposedly killed Charlie Kirk. You know, that's the base. They want to work on the base. And after that, in like 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to get the results of that education.
That's a good point. Vladimir Aguilar, host of the Cuban Show here, and joining us today here on Kentucky's Voice. We're going to talk more about this contrast between the two sides in this debate over school choice, just like Charlie Kirk would have, both sides. And we're going to let you make up your mind. We're going to give you the facts, though, and we're going to try to persuade you that education freedom is the best policy for Kentucky's parents and families, just like it is for 45 other states in America. It's time. It's past time. We're out of time on this. We've got to do it. And we're out of time for this segment. Don't go away.
Nice. Let me
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The
Jim
We the
Waters.
People Fall Fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
And we're back here on Kentucky's Voice. Thanks for joining us here. We're live on the radio, 970 WGTK, and it's been a full day. Vladimir Aguilar, my co-host here on the program, and we're talking about, of course, the 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is in custody. He is the suspect in the assassination of conservative activist and commentator Charlie Kirk. And I think it's a good time to ask, what kind of Kentucky will our children and grandchildren inherit, and what will they learn from us?
Well, I hope they learn like no one has the right to take other people's life.
And
100%.
No matter how much you may disagree,
Yes.
no matter what the political disagreements, we've always had political disagreement in our country. That's, in fact, if you go back and look at the history of our nation, that's where our Constitution came from. Nobody just sat down and wrote that out on their own. They debated this. They had vigorous debates.
we got a national championship for a debate. Like, it's based on that.
And when our founders met in Constitution Hall there back in the 18th century, they had many different ideas.
Of course.
But what they did is they listened to one another. That was very important. And they debated and they pressed, and the principles that were the most important and that had the most support won the day. And that's how our democratic republic works.
But they had a thing in common, all of them. They love the country.
That's right.
And that's what's happening with these new generations. They hate this country.
Well, and my question is, if you hate it so much, why are you still here?
You're free to go.
We're the only nation that has to build a wall to keep people out of this country. Nobody's keeping you from leaving.
Well, when you see the American people jumping in a raft, sailing to Cuba, then you'll say, okay, there's a bad thing here. But so far, no one has done that. So.
Well, this off our Kentucky's Voice text line at 502-571-0970. The killer's family turned him in. We need more families to expose their family members that are radical instead of coddling them. Those that hide them are just as guilty. That's off our text line. We'd like to hear from you. What do you think? 502-571-0970. And we've made it so easy to partner with us, not only by sending us your comments about what you think we've been talking about on this show today, any of the topics we've been talking about,
I
but
wanna,
also partner with us financially.
Yes, and I want to be clear about this, just to let things very clear. We don't want revenge. We want that guy have the due process,
Absolutely.
but with transparency, with all the laws and whatever he deserves, he needs to get it.
It may be even more important in this case that there
Of
be
course.
due process, that the law be followed, and that everyone see that we're a
Yes.
nation of laws, and that everyone should stand level at the law, right? Everybody
course.
should be equal. Of course, we know it's not a perfect system, and it doesn't always work like we would like for it to. But no one's found anything better. No
Yes.
one's come up with anything better.
Yes.
And that's what our founders, they said, no one's done anything better than that. We're going to do the very best we can, and that's all we can do. And they made a way for us to make things better. If you want to make things better, the way to do that is not to by violence against your opposition. It's by making your case, like
Yes.
Charlie Kirk did. He made this a better nation because of his approach. And I think it's a great example, not only for our young people, for all of us.
Everyone, like, if you want to debate ideas, I'm ready for it. But they couldn't debate it, so they try to kill it.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Well, and this concerns me about the left is they cannot win in our state houses, for example, in Kentucky. They've not been able to win on the floor of the General Assembly. They have lost numerous battles there. And so I don't want to see this turn into a situation here. We need Kentucky's voice. This is an outlet for conservatives to express maybe their frustration with this. This is the right way to do it. This is by debate. I hope we can have more debates on here. I hope we can have more people on here who may disagree with us. Let's have a debate about school choice. Let's have a debate about immigration. Let's have a debate about these important issues.
Yes.
And
that's I've been watching a few clips in the last 2 days, of course, about Charlie in different campuses. Man, he was so awesome, like doing those debates, that he's the perfect example that when someone reach like intellectual level, you can go anywhere and try to defend any idea, and that's why they were afraid of.
Yeah, and one of the ideas that we've been pushing here in Kentucky, and there's definitely debate over this, is whether parents have the right to choose the best educational setting for their children. And we heard yesterday in the Kentucky Supreme Court heard a case challenging the funding of charter schools, a law that was passed a couple of years ago by the General Assembly that funded public charter schools here. We've got a group called the Council for Better Education. They have opposed that educational freedom idea all along. To their credit, though, and everybody's credit, this debate has occurred in a peaceful, civil way for the most part, and was actually in the most civil of arenas yesterday, which is our Supreme Court room, if you will, Supreme Court hearing. The courtroom yesterday was on the Center College campus in Danville, as the court often will travel around and allow people around the state to attend its hearings that may live in different parts of the state and maybe can't get to Frankfort. And plus, Frankfort, the capital, is being remodeled, so their courtroom's not available anyhow. So they were down there yesterday, and I was glad to see a lot of young people come out and see this. Very educational to watch the Supreme Court of the state and how they heard this case. But the contrast could not have been more stark yesterday. It was on full display during a hearing over whether the Kentucky Constitution allows the funding of public charter schools. Now, let's start with this. 44 states in America have charter schools. Kentucky has a charter school law, but no charter schools. We're the only state in America that doesn't have charter schools that has a law. And Washington, D.C. has charter schools. The territory of Guam has charter schools. The territory of Puerto Rico has charter schools. And yet we have this Council for Better Education saying that we can't have charter schools here because our Constitution does not allow a charter school, which they say is not a common school. It's not a public school. And that we saw this on display yesterday. Listen to this exchange between Bob Leet, who argues against educational freedom. He's the lawyer for the Council for Better Education. He thinks the elites in the central office and in the bureaucracy know better than you how to educate your children. And listen to this exchange between him and Justice Michelle Keller, a progressive, a liberal from Northern Kentucky, who doesn't hide the fact that she's opposed to educational freedom. And she's throwing this anti-freedom lawyer a softball question. Let's go with this exchange.
The Pollitt case, the Sherrard case in the 40s have consistently reiterated that the test for common schools is whether they are controlled by elected officials within a school district, not controlled by a group of parents who want to see their kids do well. I hope all parents want to see their kids do well. That's not the point.
Parents or the public at large who are actually paying the taxes have no control over who those people are, do they?
That is correct.
I mean, we're going to be paying the taxes through our property assessment tax that we pay now, but we will have zero control over who administers the charter schools.
That is correct. And so who will control that? The final authority for a charter school would be its independent board of directors. Independent board of directors, none of whom have stood for election.
And Jim Waters back here in the studio, and with Vladimir Aguilar, you heard that clip. Elections, Vladimir, have consequences.
All the time.
This Michelle Keller defeated former longtime conservative legislator Joe Fisher for that Supreme Court seat. And this is what we get. We get a justice who's more concerned about who has control and where the money's going to go than they do about the education of the students. You heard the exchange there that it's not about the educating of the students. The lawyer said, oh, I hope every parent wants their child to get the best education. But that's not what this is about. I thought that's what our education dollars were for.
And they going against God's laws, because God's give the parents the choice to have a kid.
Well,
So
it's the parent's responsibility.
Of
God
course.
gave the parent the responsibility. But if the state steps in and doesn't allow the parent to make those decisions,
Of course.
we're getting in the way.
Who are the government to decide over my kids' education?
And it might be a different story if the government-run schools were doing great, but only 1 out of 3 of our kids in government schools are learning at a rate proficient.
And that's why you get
acceptable
those kids like ignorance out there, like they don't even know how to debate, like
They can't
Charlie
think for
Kirk.
themselves. That's right. We need to do better, folks. We'll talk more about yesterday's hearing, the Supreme Court considering charter schools. Don't go away. Stay with us here on Kentucky's Voice, 502-571-0970. Don't go away.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
Thanks for staying with us today here on Kentucky's Voice. We're into our second hour here. You say, well, I thought you only had an hour show. We usually do, but this week we're expanding this. We're doing 2-hour programs, asking you to partner with us. Help us keep the Kentucky's Voice on the air strong, a strong voice for conservatism, for common sense policy, for Christian-based policy. I'm joined here in the studio by Vladimir Aguilar. Vladimir, say a word about how important it is that people partner with us.
Well, especially to the Cuban community, I'm trying to ask to my friends, like, guys, if you can support the cause, we really appreciate it because, you know, this takes times and takes a lot of efforts.
Well, it takes resources. You know, This doesn't just happen. It's a partnership with all of us.
Yes.
And you say, well, how can I help? Well, a couple of ways. One is you can text GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 502-571-0970, or you can go to your computer at kyvoice.org and give there. You can join the fight today, partner with us in that way. And also, you can weigh in on issues. What do you think about what you're hearing here? If you just want to text us and say, hey, I'm listening. I like what you're saying, or I disagree. Here's why. That's what we've been talking about with the tragic death of Charlie Kirk, the tragic assassination and murder of Charlie Kirk, is how he was so, he not only welcomed people of different views, he went and sought them out. I mean, he wanted to have conversations with him. We want to do that here too. And certainly we have strong views here, but we're certainly open to discussing those views and hearing some other perspectives. So we'd like to hear that from you, 502-571-0970. And this off our Kentucky's Voice text line, he said, I think it was Jim that said, that's how a democratic republic is supposed to work. They said, we hear so much about democracy. I don't think people understand we are not a democracy. A democratic republic is that because it includes representation. Democracy can be defined as rule by the mob. We don't want that. Expound on that if you would. That's right. I could be wrong. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I think sometimes that's an example of where our public education system, unfortunately, has not taught the civics, has not really taught how this country not only works, it's supposed to work. And that is, we have a representative form of government, Vladimir Aguilar. Yes. We have people that we send to Washington, to Frankfurt, to City Hall, to county government, to represent us there and to make decisions based on the best information, based on their conscience, based on what their constituents say, of course, as well. But we are a representative form of government. We're not ruled by a pure democracy.
Yeah, because actually democracy, I'm always trying to teach this to my Cuban fellows. Like, democracy is the worst thing that can happen to a country, because it doesn't matter how many people are agreeing something. You, as an individual, you have your rights, you have your freedom, and no one can go over that.
And that's what makes our country different as well, is that we protect individual rights and liberties against mob rule.
Yes.
And this is important, is it not? If people are not informed about what's happening, about the issues, then a mob can be totally uninformed, can be totally ignorant.
And that's it.
And the people who are right and have rights are not protected against that if we're a pure democracy. And I think that's a great point to make. So, folks, we are a republic.
Yes.
We can say democratic republic because we elect our elected officials with a majority vote, right? So in that sense, it's democratic. But in terms of governance,
but make no mistake, because even on the Electoral College, the founding fathers, they designed that that way because they don't want to fall in the mistake of democracy.
Right, and that was, I was just getting to that, is I think people, our young people, and unfortunately in our public education system, too many times have not been educated about what the Electoral College is about, or about what the difference is between a representative republic and a democracy.
What do you think they want to go by the popular vote? No.
That's a great example. We did have a vote taken in November on school choice, and the vote was against a school choice amendment. But I want to get to another issue regarding the Supreme Court hearing yesterday on charter schools quickly. And that's the disappointment I have regarding the justices' apparent lack of understanding about the difference between a public charter school and what Amendment 2 in the fall was all about. Check out this clip from Lexington liberal Pamela Goodwine, who's the newest member of the court. She read all of her questions and comments yesterday as if someone had written them for her. Let's hear this clip too.
Ask the million-dollar question. A majority of voters in every county voted against the amendment. Should that impact our decision, or should we just ignore the nearly 2/3 of the voters who do not wish to have taxpayer funds used in this manner?
Well, Your Honor, I disagree with the last part of your question, because you said in this manner. That's not what the referendum asked whether the people of Kentucky supported the idea of the General Assembly appropriating money for schools outside the system of common schools. We are not outside the system of common schools. I have always been indifferent to that bill, to that referendum. It doesn't matter. Public charter schools are fully and squarely within the concept of a common school.
And that was Paul Salamanca, who did a great job yesterday representing Guy LaFontaine, a gentleman from Madison County who became the first applicant for a charter school in the Commonwealth of Kentucky after the General Assembly passed that legislation. Of course, all that was put on hold because of the lower court ruling by Judge Philip Shepard in Franklin County, who has demonstrated his bias against school choice. He cannot hear a school choice case objectively. I'm convinced of that from some of the comments and watching him in the courtroom, his body language and everything else and the questions he asked. And that's why I'm not hopeful about this case. And, I wish I could be. I'm generally an optimistic person. But if the justices don't even know the difference between a public charter school and a non-public private school, and they don't seem to know what Amendment 2 was really all about, how can we be hopeful that they're going to be competent enough, knowledgeable enough, able enough to get this right? Amendment 2 was not about whether tax dollars should be used to fund a different kind of public school, which is what charter schools are. We're already doing that, by the way. The Gatton Academy, the Craft Academies, the Magnet Schools, the Kentucky School for the Deaf, the Kentucky School for the Blind. We're already funding different kinds of public schools. But when it comes to charter schools, they have a bias against this. They have a political bias against this. That vote in November was not about charter schools. It was about whether the legislature could, according to the state constitution, fund school choice programs that include non-public schools.
And I love the way he addressed that to the judge.
Did a great job.
Because you need to be really informed about what you are fighting on. And this guy, he got the point. Like, no, judge, I have to disagree with the last part of your question. So, yeah.
Well, one of the other reasons, Vladimir, that I am not optimistic about this is because the Louisville Public Media some time ago came out with a story, I think it was last year, about the influence that the teachers unions have on these races for our Kentucky Supreme Court. This is where we need some reform as well. But this is from September of 2024, a year ago, actually. Louisville Teachers Union spends big on Kentucky Supreme Court race. This is now, so elections have consequences. These types of things have consequences. The Jefferson County Teachers Association Political Action Committee spent $200,000 on ads for that justice, Pamela Goodwine, in her Kentucky Supreme Court race. So, I mean, is she going to really hear this from an objective point of view? Of course not.
Of course not. And this is more about this is a business for that people. It's not about the kids' education. They don't even care about the kids' education.
The business is not their education.
Of
course. Business is protecting the system. And you heard the attorney from the other side, Byron Leet, money control.
Yeah.
How many times did he say control?
Yeah.
Who has control?
Yeah,
that's what matters. He says it doesn't matter whether the parents are getting a better education. Yeah. And yet I thought that's what our whole education system was all about. And then you have justices saying, we don't even know how the public education system is doing. We need some reform badly with the Kentucky Supreme Court. Well, Vladimir Aguilar, thanks for hanging in there with us today. Stay with us. More coming up on Kentucky's Voice. Louisville Metro Council member Anthony Piagentini here with us today. I can't wait to talk to him. Stay with us as we talk about the Safer Louisville agenda. Coming up, Republicans on the Metro Council.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall fundraiser is going on now.
We're back here on Kentucky's Voice. Thanks for staying with us today. And we're so delighted to have in the studio with us, joining us, Anthony Piagentini from the Louisville Metro Council, represents the 19th district in the metro area. Have I
That's
got that
correct.
right?
And I'm the caucus chair for the Republican caucus.
And you are the Republican caucus chair. And right now it's the minority caucus, but not by much.
It's
and
very thin.
We're getting close. We're getting close.
And we're also joined here by Vladimir Aguilar, who stayed with us through the break here. Councilman, thanks for joining us today. We're delighted to have you with us. I've been looking forward to meeting you, and we appreciate you coming by today. And tell us a little bit about how things are going politically with the council. You know, I'm amazed. I didn't even ever think or believe that this soon we could be in this position where we're talking about the possibility of a Republican majority on our Louisville Metro Council. How far away is that? Is that within reach?
Well, it's one vote away from being 50-50. That's how close it is, right? So right now we have 12 Republicans, 13 Democrats, and there's one registered independent. So that all happened this last election cycle. We flipped 3 seats during the election cycle. We had 9 going into that cycle. But just to put it in perspective about how quick this transformation happened, 2.5 years ago, the election cycle before that, because we do half of the cycle every 2 years, we only had 7 Republicans. We flipped 2 seats 2.5 years ago, and then 8 months ago, we flipped 3 more. So now we have 12 on Metro Council. Yep.
So, and this ties together, I think. You've come out now, the General Assembly a couple of years ago came out with the Safer Kentucky Act, right. And now you've proposed the Safer Louisville agenda. You unveiled that earlier this week at City Hall. Certainly public safety must be and is, I don't think anybody would argue with this, no matter what your political persuasion, that it's a high priority, particularly for local elected officials.
That's right.
I think it's, certainly we hear a lot about national and state efforts, but for the local elected official, this is certainly one of the most important policy priorities that you have. Is the progress that Republicans are making, is it tied into this issue?
100%. Every single one of the 12 of us that ran, whether we ran years ago or ran for re-election or my first election 7 years ago, we all ran with the first issue being public safety. Now, second to that were things like business development and all that stuff, but our message has been consistent that without good public safety, and that being the first objective of local government, and doing it right. I don't care what else you want. You want a school system, you want business development, you want growth, you want a good family environment. All these things come second to having a safe city for all of its residents. So I think this has everything to do with how much we focused on it, and not just focused on it rhetorically, but have been delivering results year after year coming out of our caucus on concrete solutions to make this a safer city.
Is Louisville a safe city?
Not yet. Not yet. So this is what really happened. Before COVID, we would, if you look back the prior about 10 years, we would average about 50 to 60 homicides a year. Fairly typical of a city our size, right? Right around 2019, sort of COVID plus several other factors, it explodes. It goes up by 300%. We were averaging 150, 160 homicides a year. So it is true, for example, the mayor says, and we're on the right track now, we're down year over year. Shootings and homicides are down 30%. And that's the first thing we look at. Then we look at carjackings and property theft and other violent crimes. Homicides down 30%, but that is 30% after a 300% growth. Mm-hmm. So we need to come down another 30 to 40% before we are where we were pre-2019. So we have a lot more work to do, and this is the kind of work that needs aggressive daily enforcement. You can't just take it for granted. You can't just say, oh, we've made progress and dance around and throw your hands up. Every day is a grind on making sure that we take violent criminals off the streets and then keep them in jail, which is why it's not just LMPD, but part of our plan focused on prosecutors and judges, because they have been a big part of the problem in keeping violent criminals off the streets.
Especially after the sanctuary city mandate with the federal government.
That's right.
Yeah. That's very important too.
So how can that be done? I know you're talking about a judicial scorecard. Mm-hmm. what would that tell us?
Yeah. So, for example, after the news came out about the one gentleman that had shock probation and then did this sort of very extremely violent crime against this woman and family, I asked David Nicholson, the clerk of the courts, for data on shock probations. Okay, amongst all the circuit court judges, there's 13 of them. There is an incredible deviation from one judge to the next on how often they're granting shock probations. On the one end, you have judges granting it about 30% of the time. On the other end, we have two judges that grant shock probation 90% of the time of cases that come in front of them. All I want is for that data to be in front of the public. So when the public votes on these judges, they know who is soft on crime, who's letting people out the door, and who's not. What the scorecard can do, for example, is say, for the judges that get somebody sentenced for murder or carjacking or armed robbery, what's the average sentence that judge gives those type? So it's not case by case, it's aggregate data that then tells the public what's going on. And this applies to the prosecutors too. I do not want to let the Commonwealth Attorney's Office or the County Attorney's Office off. A lot of times they're cutting deals for very serious crimes. We had a story about a woman whose 18-year-old son was killed by a 17-year-old, indicted for murder. A Commonwealth attorney pled it down to only a 3-year sentence for murder. So,
if you look at and certainly, I think transparency is huge, so important.
Yes,
especially when it comes to public safety or criminal justice, because you are making decisions that affect people's lives and in a very dramatic way many times. Reported. So there's another category here. I'm wondering what your thoughts are about reported crimes. You know, we hear a lot about reported crimes, but sometimes we don't hear about solved crimes. Mm-hmm. So this might be an opportunity also to look at and maybe encourage a community to be more involved in helping with this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. When one of the questions we took during the press conference Tuesday morning was, what can the community do? The number one thing the community can do is turn people in. Mm-hmm. Again, I'll come back to this case, shock probation. This guy kidnaps the family, all stuff. They rob the bank. He stabs the wife. He runs off into the community. The reason they found him is because community members started calling the police and telling them where this person was hiding, right? If they didn't do that, he might have gotten away. I mean, because you start hiding in these residential neighborhoods, it's tough to get caught, right? So that type of cooperation, I could tell you that the safest communities in this city have citizens who are the most likely to report crime as they see it, right? It's the communities, and look, does the police have to build relationships and build trust? 100%. They've been doing that now for years, building trust in every community, good. But the communities have the role to play. The role to play is report these crimes, be transparent, and if you do that, I can tell you your neighborhood will immediately become safer because they will have the evidence to put these people away.
And back to the judges for a moment when you're talking about, I think letting people know, I think people knowing the information, you know, because sometimes crimes, certain violent crimes, of course, get a lot of coverage and a lot of attention, but really taxpayers and citizens being able to look at the whole thing and make their own decisions. They usually get it right. If they have the information, if they have the full information, they get it right. Because there's always a danger on this of going both ways, of being maybe not giving judges enough flexibility. On the other hand, giving them too much, you know, and I think there has to be a balance. I always struggle with that because I want judges, we want to trust our judges, you know, but the fact is they're political. It's a political office. It's not. And so there has to be checks and balances.
Yeah, and let's put it this way. What we're asking for is transparency. To be clear, not transparency to me. I'm the legislative branch. Transparency to the people. Don't report to me. Report to the people that elect you. And what the people can then do is say, okay, well, look, like we see you were good in these cases. I question why you made these decisions. But when there's transparency, they could say, well, if you look at the data, it was clear that we didn't have the evidence to charge with this higher crime. Okay, that's a very good reason to plead down or to say, look, we couldn't get that type of a thing. Right. There are other mitigating circumstances, but you should be able to justify that when the public sees it. It is what you have to be concerned about. Any judge that says the public shouldn't have more access to this information, you need to immediately question why. Right. Because if they're confident in the great job they're doing, and there are many judges doing outstanding work, and we should be lauding them for their outstanding work, but it is so hard for Joe Q public to find out who's doing good work, who's not, why they're doing it. It is almost impossible the way the system is set up currently.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you don't want people to know, why not? Right. I mean, either you're not confident in what you're doing, or you're going to say people don't understand. But I found out when you give when you're honest and you give citizens the full picture, the full data, they usually do the right thing. They usually make the right decisions.
Never underestimate the public's intelligence. Never do that.
Yeah, yes. I think I've seen that done a lot of times, and I think it turns out to be a mistake and wrong. Some other parts of this program, I know I want to get into some of the street side solicitation in a moment, but we only have about a minute left in this break. But some things to make us safer traffic wise, right? There's some important ideas here.
Yeah, like for example, I mean, just a couple things about more visibility on streets, like automatic traffic signage. We can't do automatic enforcement. But the other part of it is we rely so much on LMPD. We're trying to staff them up. We're moving in the right direction and getting more officers. But we have other officers we pay around here, Sheriff's Office, Kentucky State Police. So part of this is also asking them, like, how can the Kentucky State Police help with our highway safety? When you get outside of Jefferson County driving a Bowling Green, you're going to see Kentucky State Police officers on I-65 enforcing speed. Can we do that here also in the Commonwealth? In the county? And when you do that, not only do you make the streets safer, but traffic stops like that also find other criminals, because criminals that do other crimes tend to break the law on the streets as well.
Yeah. Of course. Well, of course, I see evidence of the need for more officers every morning on Dixie Highway and coming up that way, and I've often thought about that, Gene Steyer. But our law enforcement works very well with what they have, but we need to make sure they have the support they need, and that citizens are also protected. That's got to be the number one thing. Glad to have with us Tony Piagentini from the Louisville Metro Council. He'll stay with us for another segment right here on Kentucky's Voice. We'll talk more about the Safer Louisville agenda.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall Fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
Back here on Kentucky's Voice, thanks for joining us live on the radio, 970 WGTK, like we are every weekday, 11 to noon. Only this week we are doing 2-hour programs and expanding because we'd like to invite you to partner with us. And you can do that by texting GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 502-571-0970. You can also give at kyvoice.org. And you can join this conversation that we're having today on the topic we're talking about now, or anything else we've talked about. But glad to have with us in the studio Tony Piagentini, who is a member of the Louisville Metro Council, who is the Republican caucus leader of the council. And we have a question off of our text line. So, Tony, we're going to jump right into that. We're talking today about the Safer Louisville agenda that the Republicans unveiled earlier this week. One of those areas that you included in that agenda is the planning for the reopening of the reopening of the Juvenile Justice Center. Take us there for a moment. What do we need to know about that?
Yeah, so this goes back now almost 7 years ago, where we were under extreme budgetary pressures locally. Juvenile justice is a state function paid for by the state. 40 years ago, there was a deal cut that Jefferson County would run their own, but the state would reimburse for it. Over the decades, the state was not reimbursing for the cost. It ended up being a $10 million annual operating deficit for the city of Louisville, and we were under huge budgetary pressure. In retrospect, should we have done a better job in coordinating with the state to transition it? 100%. But we had to move quickly. The state, there was confusion in coordinating with the state, so it ended up closing. Very quickly afterwards, several years ago now, we went to the state saying, look, we need to reopen this thing. We need the state to help us. They do this in the rest of the state. We need the help, right? The state legislature, terrifically, 3 years ago now, budgeted tens of millions of dollars, over $30 million, to take over, regenerate, and then operate our juvenile detention facility. Unfortunately, it then goes to the executive branch to execute. The Beshear administration dragged their feet for the first year and a half, almost 2 years, delayed the project significantly, and now they're looking at another 2 to 3 years before they even open it because of that. That's
truly incredible when you think about how there's been a lot of problems in the juvenile justice system. I mean, it's been on the front pages in the news, and you would think that would be, if nothing else, that would be a motivation to address this. Do you mind taking a question off our text line? It's a challenging question about this. But they said, first of all, when will the Metro open the juvenile detention center? Any ideas on? Well, again, it's the state, but the state is projected the earliest is 2027 right now. Okay. Jared Bauman and others are pushing the state to speed that up. Yeah, and you may have said that. I was distracted there for a moment, but this texter said, which is more important, doing the Belvedere or a place to detain criminal juveniles? Oh, juveniles, undoubtedly. It's just that it's the state. If we had control over it, this would be a whole different. I can tell you. So that's the main issue. Yeah, it's the state that runs this. This is 100% on the backs of the Beshear administration, and they are treating it like business as usual. Kevin Bratcher, who's now Councilman Kevin Bratcher, was 20-year plus state representative Kevin Bratcher, who helped pass this budget allocation to help us open it, said during our press conference on Tuesday, he addressed this, and he said, we should be approaching this like the dam is about to break. Hair on fire. This is life or death. And it is. We have an explosion of juvenile crime because the judicial system, because we have the closest judicial facility is so far away for juveniles, Dare County. Judges and local law enforcement have very limited options. A lot of time they're releasing them back in the community, very little consequences for very violent actions. If we had the facility, we can detain these kids, provide them services, they deserve services, to try to rehabilitate them, but at least we have them separated from the gang activity and out of the violent circumstances that they're in. talk about the new jail,
Yeah.
For Jefferson County. And, there's been some pretty well documented problems with the jail.
So we've had this jail for, almost 50 years now, 40, 50 years. That building was a former office building that was then renovated to be the jail. So it was never built in sort of what a modern jail facility would look like. We just, as much as 2 or 3 years ago, had an expert, former FBI agent, expert in criminal justice and corrections facility design, looked at, we were having all the deaths in the jail and all that stuff. He made a bunch of operational recommendations, which the new corrections director has implemented. Much better guy, doing a good job. But he also said, we need to completely replace this jail. Number one, we have been over the population. We've been at the limit or over for years now, probably a decade plus, consistently overpopulated. Secondly, it's designed in a way that is operationally inefficient and unsafe for both the corrections officers and inmates because it's not an open air design. We absolutely need a larger jail and one that is designed under modern standards.
Another part of this Safer Louisville agenda, we're talking with Tony Piagentini, the Louisville Metro Council member and all-around good guy. Join us today. We appreciate it. But part of this agenda was street side solicitation. Mm-hmm. And I drive home every night down Gene Snyder, and I get down to the end of the Fort Knox Dixie Highway exit. And, it used to be such a rare thing to see people standing on the street corner. Now they're on both sides of the road. Right. And is that what this is about? Are you attempting to address this? And can it be done without violating people's constitutional rights? That's what I'm being asked.
Yes, 100%. So that's why we talk about street side solicitation. In other words, what we want to stop is, for any purpose, frankly, people, pedestrians interacting with cars that are moving on the road. And I'll give you an example. I was taking the 3rd Street exit going downtown, going to City Hall. And there's the quick 90-degree turn right by the Bell of Louisville. And I'm taking that turn. It's still supposed to be going straight. I'm in the left lane, so it's supposed to be going straight. And again, there's always somebody standing there, doing street side solicitation and begging for money. And the car in front of me, green light, jammed on their brakes. I came within 2 inches, just plowing into them. And it just creates a dangerous situation. So well-established law that's what we're trying to stop. But we're also trying to target, and this has been done, again, constitutionally. We're not stopping people their First Amendment rights, but around sensitive retail areas, for example, banking, you can create zones where you cannot solicit. Again, any type of solicitation, right? Because people, again, when they're going to an ATM or a bank and making cash transactions, we need to be very careful about those folks being safe.
So in other words, you're not just picking on panhandling.
No.
You're talking about it's a safety issue.
General safety. This is all about safety. This is not about, people want to protest or, unions want to picket or whatever. None of that will be touched. Will be totally protected. This has everything to do with the safety of our citizens and people not being harassed and creating unsafe environments.
Yeah. Another part of the Safer Louisville agenda was flock cameras, and your policy plan said that you plan to establish a plan for usage and payment for flock cameras that addresses current as well as needed cameras in areas of importance to work. And your plan is to work with future development proposals to incorporate the deployment of cameras as part of the development process and to improve connectivity between privately maintained cameras and Metro Safe. We got a comment on our text line about this saying, I hope the Safer Kentucky agenda doesn't include the use of AI surveillance and flock cameras, which infringe on citizens' rights, tracking innocent people everywhere they go in the name of catching stolen cars and et cetera. So how would these be used? How do you envision
Good question. So first of all, we probably should have used a more generic term. Flock is a brand, but those are license plate readers is all they are. So first of all, they're not taking real-time video or recording everything that's going on. They're taking snapshots of license plates
at a certain point when a car passes,
as it's passing, right? And it's pinging the stolen car database and then sending messages to LMPD to react to that. So they can see, okay, we see these stolen cars moving this way or that way, and they can come and apprehend them. That's what they're for. In addition, Representative John Hodgson, who's my state representative, by the way, great man, already passed a law for any type of electronic surveillance like that, if it's being used in an ongoing investigation, it can be held. Anything that's not must be scrubbed every 90 days. So that's already on the books, and I 100% support that. In no way are we talking about just cameras all over the place. These are only license plate readers that are targeting the movement of stolen vehicles. Because what's happening, generally speaking, is these roving bands are using stolen vehicles to go into the East End, stealing more vehicles and property, including guns, and then using that stolen property in the commission of crimes in other areas of the city.
Yeah. Another part of your plan here was to support efforts in Frankfurt to improve and modernize state laws related to assisting those suffering from mental illness, giving local authorities more tools for working with people who are in need of assistance, giving local police and judges more options for going after parents who neglect and lead to crime among youth. I hear this a lot from people that, hey, parents need to be held responsible and accountable. But, this mental health illness has been connected to so many different of these areas, homelessness, even criminal activity, juvenile criminal activity. Just what do you hope to accomplish with this? What do you think we can accomplish?
Yeah, so there are many places, including New York City, that have now gone to required treatment. Right, if you have chronic mental illness. People with chronic mental illness, by definition, I'm talking very serious mental illness. I'm not talking about you're transiently depressed or you have seasonal affective disorder. I'm talking about real, serious chronic mental illness. By definition, are not in their right mind unless they couldn't engage in a contract because it would be void in front of the judge because they are not in their right mind. In many jurisdictions, they have now gone to a mandatory, you must participate in services. This has to do with the deinstitutionalization of state institutions in the 2000s, where we had these places where, not jail, but places where people could get treated in a residential facility, take them off the streets. We got rid of those, and now we see this explosion of homelessness. So looking for more help with the state, and we have to work with the state on that to address that chronic problem.
We only have about 30 seconds left, but seems like the mayor's working pretty well with the council.
Yeah,
what kind of grade do you give him?
Yeah, I mean, compared to Fisher, which is like, how do we scrape the sewer? Low bar. But I'd give him a solid B, right? Like he works with, there's things we disagree on, but he communicates with us more than any mayor, at least in my time, and even as I understand it, going back to Mayor Abramson. Communications
we're talking about. Thank you, Tony Piagentini. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
For sure. We hope you'll come back and keep us updated on the Safer Louisville agenda and a whole lot of other things that we want to talk about here. And thank you for joining us today. We hope you'll stay with us and join us again on Monday right here on Kentucky's Voice. Have a great weekend, everyone. Jim Waters, thanks for joining us again. God bless.